Welcome back to our fourth episode of Lowcountry All Stars. I'm your host, Chloe G, and alongside me here is my co-host, Matt Goldin. We're going to be taking a look around Beaufort County. We had 6 football teams competing in playoffs, and basketball season is right around the corner.
But first, we're going to recap how all of our teams wrapped up their seasons. First up is May River. They finished the season 4-7 after getting knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. This season, the team was stacked with juniors, which sets them up for next year. They are losing 12 seniors this year. A majority of those are linemen. So they have the potential to be successful next year, but they will have to find a way to fill those crucial spots.
Another aspect the squad will have to look at in the offseason is offensive productions. They only scored an average of 17 points throughout the season. 3 out of 4 of their wins was when they were able to score 30-plus points. They also found more success when they're scoring early in those games. Their quarterback, Tanner Macy, will be returning, so they have a chance to fire up that offense before next year.
The next team we want to take a look at is Hilton Head Christian Academy. This team has been one of the most dominant teams in our coverage all season. They play in the South Carolina Independent School Association. They are 9-2, with their only 2 losses coming at the first 2 games of the year. They are continuing to plow their way through the playoffs, taking down PD Academy 42-7 in round 1.
And the power behind this offense is none other than Dylan Clark. Clark has over 1,700 yards on the season, as well as 18 touchdowns. He has an array of wide receivers to choose from, including A.J. Haupt and Gage Zadalokin, both who have over 1,000 receiving yards on the season. This is a lethal offensive combination.
Now moving on to Battery Creek. This has been a down year for the Creek. They unfortunately were not able to pick up a single win. They struggled severely on the offensive front, and they scored 30 points one single time and unfortunately still lost that game by 3 points.
Now, some things to keep in mind when you're looking at Battery Creek is they just hired their new head coach in April. Ed Susi has more than 35 years of coaching experience, and this team has not had a winning record since 2012, so of course there's going to be some growing pains there, especially when you're working under a new leadership. It's going to take some work, but Susi has that experience to get this team back on track, and he has time to develop them before next season. Now we're going to be moving on to our Showtime games, the first being Well Branch. The team had a very successful season, going nearly undefeated until the last week of the regular season when they had a tough loss to Bamberg. In their first round of playoffs, they still struggled to put pieces of the puzzle together, and unfortunately they lost 33-28 to Lakeview.
Both teams came out scoring quickly, 2 touchdowns apiece in the first quarter. Lakeview was able to score another while the Warriors stayed quiet up until the fourth quarter when they scored 14. Despite the last chance effort, it was just not enough for the win, and that will officially end their season.
Sticking with Well Branch, despite the loss, they were able to still celebrate some achievements. Back in May, their girls track team was able to win the state championships. They were honored at halftime of the game, and they received their state champion rings. They were also able to honor Bradford Thompson for winning the state championship in discus, as well as second place in shot put. While the ceremony was only about 5 minutes long, we can watch a snippet of it.
We have the honor of recognizing your individual and team state champions from the 2023 track and field season. Tonight, they will each be receiving their championship rings. Please join us in showing appreciation to these outstanding student athletes. First, we will be calling for your 2023 boys 1A district champion, Bradford Thompson. Thank you so very much. We look forward to seeing them all back out here again this spring to help defend their titles. Go Warriors!
Now moving on to our other game, Bluffton versus Richland Northeast. The Bobcats hosted the Cavaliers coming out of Columbia. It was a blackout in Bluffton and the energy was electric. Richland Northeast, James Willingham IV got things started with this long touchdown run. He had a huge day for the Cavs. Bluffton strikes back with a nice drive that ended in a touchdown for fullback Jake Ridgway. Always love a good fullback touchdown. Jake hits a few nice dance moves here as well. Richland Northeast, Mecky Mills comes down with this fantastic grab, but Bluffton's Brandon Bryant says, anything you can do, I can do better, and comes down with this fantastic touchdown grab. Bryant was absolutely a high point of Bluffton's night, but here comes James Willingham, the man of the night, taking an option pitch to the house. Folks, this game was an absolute track meet. Richland Northeast knocks off Bluffton 88-54. Bluffton's season ends with a 7-4 record.
So Matt, obviously this was a very high-scoring game, to say the least. What contributed to this offensive putout?
This game really went back and forth, and neither defense really felt like they had their footing. Both offenses were able to have big play after big play. I think that may have worn on each defense because their offenses were not giving them much time to rest. Each team also had some turnovers, and Richland Northeast was able to cash in on those for points.
So Matt, obviously a very high-scoring game, to say the least. What contributed to all of this offensive putout?
This game really went back and forth, and neither defense really felt like they had their footing. Both offenses were able to get big play after big play. I think that may have worn on each defense because their offenses were just not giving them time to rest. Each team also had some turnovers, and Richland Northeast was able to cash in on those for points.
Now, obviously, Bluffton has had a successful season, but they can do a little bit more. What key things do they need to focus on in the offseason?
Obviously, defense needs to be the focus. If you have an offense that can break 50 points in a playoff game, that should be more than enough to win, but here it just wasn't. This will be a tough game for those Bobcats defensive players to chew on for the offseason. Hopefully they can use this disappointing performance and channel that into a big season in 2024.
Now, we still have a couple of more teams in the playoffs, including Beaufort High School, who is taking on Crestwood in the second round of playoffs after defeating Loris 30-13. Beaufort Academy will travel to Williamsburg Academy after defeating Orangeburg Prep 25-13. We will catch up with those teams more on our next episode, but for now, we're going to be switching gears over to basketball season.
Well Branch hosted tryouts for both their boys and girls teams. Chloe was able to observe and get some preseason coverage of both of them. Now Chloe, right off the bat, what did you notice about the boys team?
Upon first glance, this team's advantage is their height. Last season, they finished 17-7 on the season, and one of their biggest offensive players is returning this year, and that is none other than Bradford Thomas. He had the highest field goal percentage at 54%, as well as the highest rebound average with 8 a game, 191 in total. KJ Kisholm is another notable returnee. He led the squad in blocks with 21 of them, as well as assists with 88. Overall, it seems like this team has a good formula to be successful.
Now moving over to the girls, what did you notice from them?
On the first day of tryouts, the girls looked like they were struggling just a little bit to hang on to some of the drills that they were running. There were drop passes, there was some miscommunication, but let me tell you, the difference I saw in just 3 days, they started to really get the hang of things and look like they were already putting things together. If they can make that kind of progress in 3 days, I am so excited to see what this squad can bring to the table come game time.
Now to cap things off with our player of the week, Jake Ridgway. Despite the Bobcats' tough loss, Ridgway found success in the matchup, including 2 touchdowns in the first quarter.
Huge congratulations goes out to Jake. Now, the winner of our fan frenzy, Well Branch. They consistently are pulling fans out to their games to support not only the football team, but the cheerleaders and the band. We'll be waiting to see how the community comes out to support their basketball team.
And that will do it for our 4th episode. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you guys back on the next episode of Lowcountry All Stars.